Good evening. I want to welcome you all to uh, my podcast. I'm live from Southern California. Here tonight, you're joining me to fight CPS and stop taking our children. Um, it's a podcast that is open to everyone in the United States and around the world. We do have people that text in from around the world. And I normally have a co host or two. And sometimes they come on later or not. One of them is having technical with their computers. Um, so anyway, we are fighting a system, the child protection system, and they've taken your child. And most likely they've taken your child when they were not in imminent danger. And you are loving parents, and you're here in this room because you care about your children, you want to see a way of getting them back. I'm not a lawyer, but I've had about 15 years of fighting CPS. 5 years was just constantly answering complaints that were alleged by lay people, which was my in-laws. It's my wife's family who were trying to take our children away from us, and they're the ones that made all the complaints. And after 5 years, they used the detective to trick me and get me into my home. And those are some of the things I've learned. I want to share with you what to do and what not to do, and so forth. If anybody in this room can hear me, I'd like to have a thumbs up because I'm not sure um, if you can hear me. Let me see what my other cohorts are doing here. Anyway, um, this is very, very live. I'm broadcast on YouTube. I'm using the StreamYard application, and you found me on Facebook. And I'm on 7 days a week from Monday through Sunday. In the morning, I'm on at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time for 1 hour. In the evening, I'm on at 7 o'clock at night for 1 hour Pacific Standard Time. On Sunday, I come on a little bit earlier at 8 o'clock. So tomorrow, I'll be on at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, I'll be on, which is good for the East Coast people because it's not so late in the day. But anyway, I'd love to hear from you. There's several ways you can interact with this podcast. One of the first ways is that you can text me comments. And so at the bottom of the YouTube, there's a comment section. And so when you're typing in the comments, try to pertain it to a CPS question or about your case or your friend's case or something there. Also, please provide your name, city, state, or country and be complete with your CPS case. You need to know how many fathers involved. There's fathers involved, how many children, when did it first start? Is this the second time, third time? All the information is helpful, and there's less questions that have to be answered. And I do say country, and that's why I really want to let you know that there are countries having the same problems you're having. I've heard from Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, Ghana in South America, which is above Brazil, east of Venezuela, and then Mozambique in Africa, on the east coast of Africa, down by South Africa, down from Somalia, across from the island of Madagascar, and then Denmark in Europe, and last but not least is Liberia. And the guy from Liberia, Archie, wants to be a guest on the show. He's a scout leader, and he wanted to talk about children and drugs. So that sounds like a good topic because in CPS there's always drugs. Maybe I didn't say always, but there's chance that somebody's taking drugs or something. That's one of the allegations. Um, so just text in your comments. Be respectful, and I'll try to help you as best I can. Other people in the room will listen and try to help or see them, and so that is really good. Now, the second way to interact with this room is you can call me at my phone here. It's my work phone. I can be reached at 626 698 0990. I see there's people in the room. Are you hearing me okay? I'd like a thumbs up if you hear me okay. And call in to 626 698 0990. I'll put you on speakerphone and you can talk about your case and we can try our best to answer it. I can answer it. And I'd love to have you as a guest on the show. Now, if you're not ready to speak right now, that's understandable. I know the case is hard. It's hard losing your children. So I have a producer. Her name is Grace, and she works behind the scenes, and she'll help you get on my show as my guest. She'll arrange you ahead of time, and you can be live just like I am on the screen here. And next to me, we can talk. And I'd love to have a guest to talk about things there. Now, to schedule as our guest, you just email her with one of my 14 shows that you want. You want Sunday morning, Saturday evening, or Monday morning, or Wednesday evening. You just pick the evening or the morning, and then you say what day of the week, 7 days a week. Email her and at Grace at vincentwdavis.com. That's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. And she will help you and get you on the show. There won't be any problem about doing so. So with that being said, there's three ways you can interact with this show here. And I see we already have comments here, so we'll see. Uh, Hi, Faye, welcome. So you can hear me okay. Um, you can hear me. There are so many social workers with alcohol and drug-related charges. Yes, I agree. So that thumbs up, Faye, means you can hear me good. I just want to make sure my voice is okay. Um, my microphone was showing me the highlighter, but sometimes I don't know. So I'm open to any topics about CPS. I have my rules to talk about. They're really important rules. One is about getting an attorney, the right kind of attorney. Another one is doing a notebook to keep track of all your information, all your paperwork. The third rule is how not to answer the door to CPS or police, and how to not have your children taken when you go to the hospital to have a child, or that you are going there because a child is sick. And so but rule number 3 is really important. So we'll talk about those rules too. And oh, he loved the songs. Well, that's my background because I'm broadcasting live from another place right now. I couldn't make it back at home in time, so I stopped in there. So anyway, I want to make this a fun room. I want to have you guys interact with me and do um, answer your questions, concern, because what you're going through is horrible. I feel for you. I'm a loving man, a loving father. Been married for 32 years. I have 6 loving children. Right now, it seems like 4 of them are estranged from us, all because of CPS. I know that's a lot has to do with it. And her youngest daughter, I have 3 boys, 3 girls. Her youngest daughter uh, was brainwashed into thinking that she could get rid of us as parents. And the tragic thing was, um, Your social worker was arrested for beating up her own children. Oh my goodness, that is terrible, Faye. A social worker beating up children. Well, I mean, these social workers are really, really, really bad. And so, how did you know I'm at Starbucks? Listen to the same music? Okay, digital VP News. I have no idea where you're from. So if you tell me the city and state, that'd be great. Or maybe you're from a country. I don't know. Faye also says she still kept her job, but was put on a type of leave until she had her trial. Oh my goodness. They should be immediately suspended and signed to a desk job. I mean, I'm sorry. If you abuse your children, beat them up, you should be treated the same way that parents are treated. You know, parents do less than that and have their children immediately taken. And so it's really, 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 really sorry about that. So, hey there, Lori, welcome. We see you always put in William Mullins. We don't know what that person is related to you, but appreciating the room. I still don't know what city and state you're from, but I'm glad to have you, Lori, and listen. And I love all the support that people are, give me in this room and everything. But this agency, I mean, I battled them. Well, I've been battling for 15 years, and I've talked to over 500 people, almost every state of there, and I've talked to like over 10 countries around the world, and not heard anything good. I've had only one social worker come on the show. That was Carol from Maryland. She's very professional. She talked well, and but she painted a different story. And the other people from Maryland are not, I guess, from her same area. But she was supposedly had a college degree in clinical psychology, and she went through 6 months of training before she started doing social work. As a CPS. Now, when I talk about the CPS, it's the government agency of social services that is mandated by law to protect your children from neglect and abuse, and to do family reunification. To do family reunification. So, with that being said, it's very, very important that you be careful about this agency. They've been in existence. They say they have three parts of a history. They've been in existence since the 1600s in colonial day. There was a gentleman that was prosecuted back then. And then again, um, that first part of the history goes from 1600s to 1875. And why they picked that date, I don't know. There's another person that was prosecuted in 1975, 1875. That was a pivotal period. That's when the American Indians were being rounded up to reservations, the hairs cut off, the kids shipped off to school, and all the broken promises and tears the Indians were suffering. Also was the last of the Wild West. There was Billy the Kid during that time period, and this Yellowstone, settling of Yellowstone and the Wild West, and Wyatt Earp and stuff. So about 1875 was a good year. I mean, good couple of years there, and it is hard, um, because the second part of the history went from 1875 to 1962. Why those time periods? That's what I found in my research. And then the current one is from 62 to the present. And one of the most important acts was the ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978 that was passed. And I'll explain more about that and so forth. And so um, that was important years. So good evening, Treasure Man. I forgot what place you're from, but if you could tell me, that'd be great. A lot of you coming in could tell me. I know Faye is from Richmond, Kentucky, because she talks a lot. But I'm sorry, where I don't know where digital VIP news is, or Lori Hiller, or Treasure Man. But welcome. And if you have a question, text in. If you want to call, um, let me get that up to you there. You can call in. Let me get there. My call-in number is 626-698-0990. So you can call in or text me, that's fine, or be a guest on the show at a later date. That's good. New Jersey, all right, good, Treasure Man. You're from New Jersey. Glad to have you. So as I was saying, this agency is pretty bad. And so I've developed some rules that will help you. I also have lots of topics. I can talk about the ICWA. I can talk about the filing the petition of 300. It's a motion to get a hearing about your case and how to do that. I can talk about other motions. We've had Faye recently talk about intristic and extristic and statute of limitations. And her case is a tough one because her whole police department is corrupt. In fact, the town is corrupt. And this is Richmond, Kentucky. I would think, you know, California would have a lot of the corruptness, but you know, we do. I mean, it's in every state, whether you're in Idaho or the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota. And the reason why I mentioned Rosebud, my great grandmother was from the Rosebud Reservation, and she's a Lakota Sioux, and I'm a Lakota Sioux. My grandfather is from Europe. And then my great grandmother was his fifth wife. He didn't have five wives all at once, but he went through wives. But his background, he's from Bergen, Norway, and his background is Viking. He's a Viking blood from from 800 A.D. Um, so I do have Indian heritage background, so I know a lot about it. And I'll tell you, the cultures like the American Indian. I'm not talking about the Indian over in India near the Indian Ocean. I'm talking about the Native American Indians, and I call them the first immigrants. They're the first immigrants that settled in North America. They came via the land bridge and filtered through Alaska and Canada, down through North America, then down into Mexico and Central America and uh, South America. And I think that the American Indians, the North American Indians, um, met the Spanish, and that's why we got the Mexicans and the Incas, all the different cultures there. And those cultures branched out into the Pacific Ocean, and we suddenly have the Polynesians out there. And that was through the Kon-Tiki expeditions that proved that. We also have migrations from Africa by the Raw expeditions. The Raw expeditions were reed boats that could cross the Atlantic. So people migrated around the world. I know that early man did migrate, walk, and so forth because that's how our cultures and society prospered and changed like that. So in North America, we're a cosmopolitan of all the cultures. We've had the immigration of the Irish from Europe. We've had the immigration of the Chinese from China, and we've had the unfortunate experience of the blacks being brought here from Africa and used as slaves. I know the Chinese were used as slaves too, and helped build the railroads and so forth. The Irish came over because the British were constantly taxing them, and they lived in a really harsh condition, and they had the potato famine, and they looked for new worlds with the Irish. But a lot of Europeans came over from religion persecution and settled in Massachusetts. We had the Mayflower. We had the Jamestown expedition. I have another relative from Paces Pine in Williamsburg, Virginia. So I have relationships in North America, the South. I mean, it's really interesting in my life. On my dad's side, it's from Jamestown. On my actually, my dad's side, his great his grandfather was the Viking, right? And his grandmother was the Lakota Sioux. So, um, geez, and from that side, I have some Scottish. But anyway, we're here in the United States, and we're all beautiful people. Um, but we have one problem, one common enemy, which is the. I'm sorry, the sun's getting ready to set here on the west. Um, Now, Faye has wrote a pretty lengthy comment, and that she was on a site today at a former social worker's, and one of the topics there were everything um, about is why social workers lie on the stand in court. Oh my God, I know firsthand about that. This particular worker said because they made a choice between telling the truth or losing their career. Yeah, I know that. That's the problem. Um, there's no credibility with social workers. And the reason why I'm saying that, there's a group of 8 pink ladies. They never wore pink, but they wore T-shirts, and on the front of the T-shirts, it said that they're professional kidnappers, and on the back of the shirt, they said, um, "Where are your children?" And this was the mentality. This happened in 2022 in Prescott, Arizona, and they, paraded these shirts out in public in stores and stuff. And sure enough, they got caught and he got fired right away. And also the director got fired. This was in Prescott, Arizona in 2022. Look it up on the internet. Pink ladies, the pink T-shirts, and what it said. That is the mentality of it. There was another social worker the other day that was just arrested for embezzling funds and for falsifying reports and things. So it's rampant. It's rampant, and so it's really bad. Um, so anyway, Faye is talking about their choice was they wanted their career. This particular worker was threatened by her superiors and the agency's own attorney to commit perjury if she wanted to keep her job, and was told they would make it where she could never work in her state again if she didn't lie on the stand. She decided to. So she didn't have any integrity. She went for a job. And that's sad because the corruption is not only the social workers, it's the leaders of social services. They are bad. I went and talked to my director of the Child Protection Services in Orange County, and he was bad. He was so bad that when I met with him, he worked out of a place that where all the money's going. It was the Taj Mahal. It looked like the Taj Mahal, and it was green. It was like the Emerald City of Oz. And when he sat down and talked with me, he could barely walk without looking like he was going to fall over because he had all this gold around his neck. And I felt like telling him, I said, "Do you need some crutches? Because you look like you're ready to collapse." And I know that sounds funny and stuff, but anyway, I know that, Faye, how bad the social workers and stuff are and stuff. So um, we have a message here. Okay, okay. Um, Let me go check a text message. My show producer said to check here. Okay. 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 All right. I'm sorry. I did not know. I have my headset on. I don't know why it's picking up the background sound. Um, okay. Yeah. Um, I'm going to try to. Um, Let me see here. I'm going to take a 5 minute pause and move out to my car. And apparently the music is coming through. I did not know it was coming through here. So excuse me one moment while I relocate. Okay, I'm back live. I have, when I moved my relocation, I have a caller call in. Your first name again is?
I'm Chris.
Chris. We have Chris from Illinois who has had his kids taken away 3 times. Can everybody hear me okay? Hope everybody can hear me on the podcast. Um, okay, Chris, let me see. There's a couple comments that came through. Um, let me see here. Uh, the Truth Movement, who's been on our show as a guest and speaking, uh, Treasure Man says his people are Cherokee and Seminole, but lost their true identity by being forced on the plantation. Well, if there's 547 tribes federally recognized, and the Cherokee and the Seminole are one of those 547. So all you have to do is be registered with that tribe, and then that will help you get your kids that the Indian families will take care of. Now, the Truth Movement said hello, and just a reminder, if you don't know you're right, you don't have the right. Ignorance in the eyes of law is notes. I said if you don't know your rights, you don't have rights. And I say it like this: ignorance in the eyes of law is no excuse. And it's said like this: ignorance in the eyes of law is no excuse. And then Treasure Man said, all social workers don't lie. It's their attorneys that makes the call for them to lie. Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. I think a lot of social workers do lie. Mine did, in my case, so that was true. Then the Truth Movement said, not all CPS workers lie. It's in their mandate, just like the cops. They're trained to deceive us. The Truth Movement also says, why is it? Wise not to talk to CPS or their agents. Yes, that's my rule number 3. Do not talk to social workers or the police. And then Natty left from West Hollywood said, I hope you're well. And I am. Thank you, Natalie, for coming on. She comes on all the time. And our last comment from Treasure Man, there was no programs of anywhere he find her out about her parents right back in 99. Believe me, I asked. Okay, understood, Treasure Man. And I'm sorry if you're trying to use the ICWA Act. But anyway, I have Chris on the phone. And so what is your question, Chris? How can the room and me help you? You're live.
Well, I guess the case is coming to an end now. This is the first time my children were removed during COVID, so it took, no, that was the second time I pulled on. So
how did the first time work out for you? How did the first time work out for you?
Well, when I got to trial, finally, after 11 months not having them, seeing them for 1 hour a week, I won a trial. I was apparently the only one who's ever won a trial in my county, but the judge demanded that they be returned back to me immediately, and the case was closed immediately at court.
What were the original allegations?
There was someone in my building, and it was a woman I was.
Go on. Is a woman and now I don't hear you. Could you go back from the woman in the building? I missed the last part. The woman in the building did what?
She had an overdose, a drug overdose.
Now what?
She almost died.
Why would that woman in the building have anything to do with your kids or you?
Because she was my girlfriend.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry she died of an overdose. So that's why.
I mean, we had just started talking, really. It was nothing serious. We were talking right by each other, and something happened that let me know something was wrong. She stopped messaging, like, in the mid-conversation and sent, like, a weird couple of letters. And it was strange. So I ran over to her apartment. No one would answer. I getting in her apartment, I went into the bathroom where I could see a light on and it was locked, and I had to break her bathroom door down to save her life. I got paramedics. Also, they just asked me where my kids were, and I said they were asleep in bed.
Okay.
I had a roommate there and everything, so they're, even though I was next door, 20 feet away, there was still an adult there with them, and that wasn't good enough, I guess. So they still
Well, they were still supervised, and they should be. If somebody's over the age of 21, it should be good enough.
Yeah, like I said, man. I mean, it was. I smoke marijuana, but it was nothing to do with me. And I told they drug tested me later. When later that day when the sun came up, about 9 a.m. they had me at the lab doing a drug test. So,
now, is marijuana? Now, you can't smoke. You cannot smoke marijuana in front of your kids, or use things that go along with marijuana in front of your kids because they're minors. So, marijuana may be legal in Illinois, and in your privacy, you may partake it, but you cannot smoke in front of your kids, and you cannot have any pedophilia that is with marijuana because the kids are under the age of 18, I think.
This was about 6 years ago when this first one happened.
Anyway,
it was just a situation. A girl I was talking to, she had a drug overdose. I went over there. I saved her.
Okay.
On me because my children were next door in my apartment.
Okay.
I went forward. The judge agreed that I never put my kids in any danger. They weren't around anything that could have been.
So what happened the second time? What happened the second time?
It was about 4 months later. I took my 2-year-old. I've got 4 children. I took my 2-year-old to the hospital because she fell off the bed during a nap and had a bruise on the side of her head. And they showed up at the hospital. Everything went pretty good at the hospital. The doctor, he spoke with my child, one-on-one, and everything seemed to add up. The injuries seemed to add up with a simple fall. I mean, it was a bad bruise, but it wasn't like a series of bruises. It was one spot where she had fallen, and same thing. I mean, they removed them from me at the hospital. Didn't even let me leave the hospital.
See, that's the worst thing I hate. This thing about the hospital, it's actually called medical trafficking. And what CPS is doing lately, and a lot of people don't recognize it, is you take your children as good parents because of an injury and you want the doctor to look at it. Well, when CPS, who's now working at hospitals, gets wind of it, they right away want to take your child because it says extreme danger and you must have done the bruise right away. You're guilty until you're proven innocent. And it's sad, but that's how CPS works. They do if you go to get a child. If your child is born in the hospital, they'll take the child right away and the baby's born. They'll come march in the room with the policeman and say they can, but they can't. It's against the law. They have to have a warrant. And if it was me, I would tell the doctor, the nurses, please excuse these people. This is my birthing room. I don't need this stress. I'm trying to have a baby. And the other thing, too, is just because you don't want like what the doctor has to say, you can get a second opinion. You can go to the child pediatrician. I mean, if there's open wound and needs stitches, yes, you need to get that, stop the bleeding. But let's say the doctor says, well, I think it might be this or it might be that. But, you can see your own pediatrician the next day. You don't need the emergency room. The emergency room is expensive anyway. You really don't want to go there unless it's emergency because they're going to run up a bill. So you want to go to your pediatrician. You want to go to hear a second opinion. So what you're caught up on is what's called medical trafficking. The CB social workers have found out by working at the hospital, they can kidnap children. They're professional kidnappers. And why I say that? Just look at the picture of 2022, the pink ladies. 8 social workers, 25 years on the job, thrown out the window because they thought it was funny to parade around with professional kidnappers on the front of their pink t-shirts, on the back, where are your children? So all of you really got to protect your children in the hospital. I'm sad to say that. And you also got to tell them, unless you have a court order, I'm not surrendering my child. And you need to leave the hospital right away because they'll try to go back and get a court order. Chris. So where are you at your case now, Chris? Where are you at now on your case?
They did exactly. Well, I got it back. The second one, that trial, the judge agreed that the only factors that have been presented whatsoever over the course of those 2 years were that my child got hurt and had to go to the doctor. So other than that fact, there was nothing. So he demanded them yet again to be immediately returned home, and the
Now
right
you
after
said that
we had the baby.
your girlfriend went through a drug overdose and almost died. Did she die later? Is what happened?
No, that was. I mean, me and that girl talked for maybe 4 weeks. I mean, it wasn't anything serious. It was just a girl I was talking to, and I didn't
Was
know
she
well enough.
did she live or is she dead?
She lived.
Oh, good.
She was
I
dead
just
for over 10 minutes.
all right. Okay, then you were a savior for saving that girl's life. So that was a smart thing to do. So anyway, you've changed your life around, which is great, and you got your kids back. So how's it going now?
Now, the woman I've been with for the last 4 years, we had a baby, and after leaving this woman throughout her pregnancy grew a cyst in her belly that when she had our baby, Gemma, I was there in the room, and they pulled Gemma out first, and then they pulled the cyst out, and the cyst was a little bigger than Gemma was. It was bad, which had her pretty much bedridden from about month 4 or 5.
Okay.
And the doctors had prescribed her a low-level, low-dose pain medication. I don't even remember. It wasn't any of the popular ones you hear about a lot, but it was a pain medicine nonetheless. And after we had the baby in the hospital, we were there for 3 weeks, I want to say, because of mom's blood pressure issues and stuff. The baby was only there maybe a little less than a week. She was having some, birth issues as well. Nothing serious, but it just like lungs needing to be fully developed. She was about 4 weeks early, so nothing crazy, but just enough to keep her in the hospital a little longer than normal. And we got sent home after being, there for a week with the baby, and I want to say 10 days. Mom was there, and then about 2 weeks after we got home, the state's attorney, I guess, had some way or another, the same state's attorney who lost to me in court twice now, some way or another had found out we had a baby, and he called Carl personally, is what the caseworkers have told me. Because, I spent months trying to figure out how it even, came to light. But they showed up with police with a warrant this time to remove my children from her, my younger 2 children, for drug addicted child, which was far from the case. I mean, they tested even the levels of the drug that was in her system, and it was even testified, at the emergency hearing when they first removed him, that it was such a minute amount. He was only given that pain medicine for period. It was
So it was pain medicine that was tested. It was pain medicine that was tested positive.
Yeah, prescribed by her doctor.
Well, did you have the paperwork from the doctor saying he prescribed pain medicine?
I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
Did he have paperwork? Did he write a paperwork that he prescribed the medicine for pain?
The problem is they didn't have any of those facts when they set the hearing behind our backs without us knowing whatsoever, and got a warrant from the judge, and then showed up to our house and surprised us with the warrant. I mean, we had no idea court was even going on behind our backs. They showed up and said, we have a warrant to remove your children because of a drug found in your baby's system. And she went right to her cabinet and pulled the prescription out and said, are you talking about this? Was this in my baby's system? Oh, well, I'm sorry, we didn't know you had a prescription, but there's a warrant, so we have to do what we have to do. That's how. And court is Thursday, so about 5 more days. The caseworkers have, this time, have treated us like absolute garbage. I mean, just like the worst of the worst people.
That's the typical MO of social workers. They'll bring you up, they'll tear you down, they make false promises, they lie, they're not transparent, they cheat, they do revenge. You are dealing with professional kidnappers. That's their motto, professional kidnappers.
I don't know if they're trying to save face or what, but they just informed us 3 days ago that the children are being returned home at court, which is its trial. It's the adjudication hearing where, the last 2 times this is where I got it was at the adjudication hearing. And now that we're getting to that on Thursday, they just told us on Thursday last week that
Well, that's
I
better.
guess
Now,
because they
what
have,
attorney is representing? Are you hired a paid attorney?
yeah, he's not like, some top dollar
No, I
charger or
don't say
anything
he'd be
like
a high
that, but
dollar.
he does a
There are
good
good
job.
dependency attorneys out there. The court appointed attorneys, the ones that are no charge, are a waste of time. They'll just railroad you in and they won't fight for you. But you need to tell your attorney that you hired is he needs to show that paperwork from the doctor that that your daughter was prescribed the pain medicine. That's why it was in her system.
Yeah, we have. It's been, I mean, there was an emergency hearing to vacate the temporary custody order, and the state's attorney, he just went on a rant about just things he started throwing out of his pocket left and right that had absolutely nothing to do with, my girlfriend taking her prescribed medication.
Well, he doesn't sound like a smart attorney because I know most attorneys, you should stick with the facts. You should never deviate. So if he is throwing stuff that have nothing to do with the price of rice in China, then your attorney should cut him off. Approach the bench, say, Your Honor, I disagree with what the gentleman's doing.
Well, they've informed us that they're getting the kids back in court. That means we're going to win in court. Adjudication, the case is going to be closed because the judge is for the third time now.
Good.
There's not one reason children should have been removed. They were never put in any harm or danger.
Okay.
My question really is, this is the third time they've robbed me of a combined total of about half no more kids. My 1-month-old got taken. She's coming back home Thursday, but she'll be 11 months old now. I'm sorry, she'll be a year old in about a week or two.
So you lost 11 months of bonding with that child, right?
Yeah, in 4 years with almost my other. My oldest child's 8, and this all
Well, you can't stop the corruption of CPS workers. My advice, and I hate to tell you that, you need to find another place that you could start your life all over again away from those social workers because they're going to be vendetta and they're going to come in. There's a person in this room called Faye, and she was put into foster care 5 separate times growing up. She grew up into foster care. And then later on, when she had children, foster care remembered her and had been prosecuting her. And she has a son that has special needs, and she's trying to be his caretaker. He's over the age of 18. So she's trying to take care of him, be his caretaker. But I'm telling you right now, I know it's hard to move. I know that the jobs are hard to go by and stuff. But I'm telling you, it is corrupt. And Illinois, I've heard nothing but negative from there. They say supposedly the Massachusetts is the best spot, but I don't know. But sometimes you can go to another community or another place, away from that town because that social worker has it in for you, and they're going to watch you like hawks. If you have one hiccup, they'll chase you down.
Then that's what it is. I mean, they're just around every corner waiting for me to take my kids to the doctor with a mark on their arm.
Well, if that attorney works for you, ask him if he wants to sue that agency. You can file a civil lawsuit, either state or federal court. I recommend federal court, and most attorneys get about 30% of what you win. So if you win a couple $1 million, he gets 30% of that.
$10,000 down to get it started?
No, I'm saying some attorneys will do it for, if they know the case and think they can fight it, they'll do it for what they get out of the money they sue. But I know attorneys with that kind of a lawsuit usually have a retainer of $50,000, and they give you a couple years to pay it back. But I'm telling you right now is that if it's a good case, a solid case, and they're not afraid to fight CPS, see, most attorneys don't want to fight CPS. But if they're not afraid and they've won and fought CPS,
then you're in good shape. But that's one way to shut them up is assume.
Well, 3 times now, a judge has had to order them to immediately return.
Well, it sounds like they've lied. It sounds like they've lied, and that's one reason you can sue them. If they violated your Constitution or your civil rights, if any of your civil rights or Constitution have been violated, that's what they're going to base the lawsuit on. If they lied under an oath, if any of the social workers lied, you can sue them. And there's no statute of limitations.
What about the state attorney?
Same thing with the state attorneys. If they did, now there is corruption. You can go to the state judicial branch and file a complaint against those social worker attorneys.
It's the attorney that does the blatant. When the third case happened and prescription my girlfriend's written at the hearing where our attorney filed a motion to vacate when it came to light that there was a prescription, which we thought would happen, but at court, one of the things the state's attorney said was that he said, in my hearing, I had the. He claims that in court, I admitted that my girlfriend, the one who my younger 2 children got taken from for the prescription, he said, I admitted that she was the one that put the injury on the side of my daughter's head, which is the farthest possible thing from the truth there could be. I never uttered anything like that. I mean, they would have said it happened.
Well,
he told the judge that I word for word said she did it. I mean, that was a blatant lie.
Well, with the attorney you hired, you need to discuss this with him or her. Whoever the attorney you hired, you need to discuss what you're telling me. I'm not a lawyer. I only talk from my experience and from the experience of people on the show. And it seems like your case is typical. Most people, the social workers, are revengeful. They're bad news. I had one social worker on my show, Carol from Maryland, and she talked for 40 minutes and she was pleasant, but she painted a picture that wasn't true. And she hasn't been on since.
Yeah.
But there's too many cases of social workers being arrested. Faye just told me today that a social worker, in her case, had beaten up her children, and she was still back at work, meaning that to her trial, she could still be with her children and still work social work. So I'm telling you, they're very corrupt. They're very corrupt. I mean, you're like Alice in Wonderland that have fallen in the rabbit hole, and now you're in all these rooms where they say off with your head. They don't make sense. They don't make sense. Now, I have Treasure Man. One moment here, Chris. I have Treasure Man that has said a couple comments, and let me help answer her questions. Treasure Man was trying to get the Wicca where the Indian children are taken from CPS and put into the hands of the tribe. Now, she said, remember to like and share the video. I have no idea, Treasure Man, what video you were talking about, but if you could text, it'd be good. Treasure Man says, the therapist sent me to the hospital to get my daughter's medication regulated. They held me hostage with police officers outside the door so I could leave the doctor and wanted to admit my daughter. That sounds terrible when the officers are hostage to you. They wanted to admit my doctor to a psychiatric ward. I have to wait until the shift changes. The second doctor allowed me to leave and said it was necessary. My grandson went for a sibling visit, slipped and fell, broke his arm on their watch. Nothing happened to the agency that was hired to do the visit. Well, Treasure Man, it sounds like you got some bad issues happening. You need to get your attorney. If you don't have an attorney, you need to find one. And it's a dependency law attorney. And at this time, I want to talk to you about attorney right now, Vincent W. Davis, that's available for the talk for $60 for 30 minutes. He can be reached at 888-888-6582. That's the office. Tell him that Bob Pace sent you, and Also, when you talk to Mr. Davis, tell him that Bob Pace sent you. You can also go onto his website. It's candely.com, CANDLY.com / law office of VWD / Bob Pace. That'll take him to your appointment book. You can make a consultation. He's an excellent attorney. He goes to any state and so forth, but he'll discuss his retainer with you and expenses. When he goes out of state, the big expenses he has is airfare to wherever you are, and then a car rental for transportation, and then accommodations to sleep. But he's right now available for a 30-minute consultation for $60. So I want to throw that out there to everybody's listening on that there. So Treasure Man further said, I no longer have a case. I'm now a resource parent to my grandson. It was a long fight at 20 years, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. Oh, Treasure Man, I'm so sorry you had to go through 20 years of that. That is terrible. That is terrible. Treasure Man. Okay, Chris. I'm back to you. We have about 5 minutes left in the show. I don't know if I answered your question or helped you, but I do tell you that you got a really bad agency and they're not going to square with you. Don't believe a word they say to you.
Yeah, I just want to know that there can be justice. You know, I let it go after the first time. I let it go, gritting my teeth after the second time, and I just don't want to let it go this time. I want to get away from here as soon as Thursday happens. I want to move Friday.
I understand. I don't blame you, but you can do a lawsuit, a civil lawsuit, and you need to talk to your attorney if he's willing to fight them. And sometimes, they charge 30% of what you get with the lawsuit. But some of them want the expenses up front. And I know that I wanted to sue my social worker who lied underneath oath, who actually told our 12-year-old daughter to divorce her parents, to change her name, to seal her birth certificate, and to be adopted by foster parents. She's 21 now. She's got abused by the foster parents, and she learned a hard lesson there. But that social worker lied under oath, and the statute of limitations will run out. And so I really love to sue her, and so it is a hard thing to do. There's not a question about that, how they ruin your life and disrupt your life, Chris. But I want to thank all my listeners out here. My show's coming to an end, and so I want to thank all the people that have called in. That is Faye, who's been diligent in my show, who's added so much, and she calls in all the time. We had a new person called Digital VIP News. I have no idea where he's from. He loves the songs, but I didn't know that songs were playing because I had my headset on and so forth. Lori Hiller, who's called many times, or not called, but been in the room. Thank you for being here. Treasure Man, who is a Native American Indian, and I'm sorry that what you had to go through for 20 years with CPS. That's awful. In the Truth Movement, I'm glad that you're still with me. He's been following me for a long time, and he has really good suggestions. He's been live on my show, so I appreciate having him. Regento Natalie from West Hollywood, I thank you so much for being there. I know you didn't say much today, but it's okay. There's some days there's not. And I want to thank, we have a new person, C. Pelly. Thank you, C. Pelly. I see you just came in. And I want to thank you for, I don't know what city or state is. And then Chris, I want to thank you for taking the time to explain your 3 cases with CPS. There was valuable information you shared with us all, and I think that they will they will welcome that in the room. So, Chris, I have to end my show. My time is up. I'll be on tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, all you people. It's early on the West Coast, but it's 8 o'clock tomorrow for an hour, 8 to 9 Pacific Standard Time. So God bless you all. Keep working to get your kids back, and I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. This is Bob Pace and Chris signing off.